Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Astrology Now with astrologer Babula Clement and myself, your host Cheryl Gottschall. So you made it through August, Babula, which was great because you cancelled it.
I did. I cancelled it and it was fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, because I knew there was some pretty gnarly things happening astrologically in my own chart and generally. And I just thought, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And, um, and actually, I've had a really nice time.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you made it through.
Yeah. So yay me for actually looking ahead and making that choice.
You're an astrologer. I would expect you to do that anyway.
Yes, but in the past, I would have just kept going.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
This time I just thought, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Good on you. That's
Yeah.
terrific. Well, we're here to talk about the upcoming new moon in Virgo because we're recording this a few days beforehand. But you've also got something, you're going to introduce a couple of aspects that are traveling along there before the new moon. So do you want to do that now?
Yeah. Sure thing. So literally the day before the new moon on the 2nd of September, which would make it Monday in our corner of the world, the planet Uranus turns retrograde. And uh, that's a normal thing every year. Uranus is in retrograde motion for about 5 months, as all the outer planets are. But when a planet does change direction, from our perspective on Earth, it's called stationary, and its energy is very pronounced and very present and very evident. And of course, and so around those days or that week of a slow moving outer planet sitting at its station and changing direction, um, we're going to feel its energy very strongly. And the energy of Uranus can be chaotic, disruptive, sudden, unexpected developments, shocks, surprises. And when I say shocks and surprises, they're not always, sometimes people go, oh, they can be exciting ones. They can be
Yeah,
amazing breakthroughs. They can be really positive things that happen. And you go, wow, I didn't expect that. This is fantastic.
yeah,
It's not like I'm not predicting, that dreadful things. Well, I guess it depends on your perspective. Like politically, things might happen in the world. Some people go, yay, this is great. And other people go, oh no, this is horrible. But it can be like we've had a few of those in recent weeks.
mm,
Uranus has been very active. And
mm.
remember, Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius. So Uranus has got a lot to do with the birthing of the Aquarian age. And Uranus is not a subtle energy.
No,
You know,
definitely.
as I've said so many times, my favorite quote, and I've no idea who even said it, was, the universe has shaken you to awaken you. And boy, are we going through that.
Yeah,
It's
I think
everything's getting shaken up.
when I think of Uranus, I sort of imagine an asteroid hitting the planet,
Right.
particularly in Taurus. And oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm so glad when it moves out of that. But then it goes into the next sign. I'm thinking, what?
And well, now that's an interesting subject, which I actually wanted to touch on. So just briefly, and next year we'll talk a lot more about it.
Mm,
Uranus will begin to move into the next sign. So right now it's at 27 degrees of Taurus, which is at the end.
mm.
Um, and between July and early November of next year, so the second half of next year, Uranus is actually going to be in the early degrees of Gemini.
Then
And
we're going to
Uranus is in a sign for 7 years. So when they change signs, that's a very significant thing. And then it will slip back into Taurus for some time. And then the following year, 2026, it will fully move into Gemini and stay there for 7 years.
yes.
So there is going to be a change of energy.
Yeah, I think we're going to see bombshell information then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just so much stuff coming out of the woodwork.
Absolutely. And Gemini is a sign that is it's quick.
Yes.
It just moves very, very quickly.
And you're going to go, wait, what? What was that? What?
That's
What?
exactly.
Having conversations with groups of people and going, I never heard that. What happened? That sort of
That's
thing. Yeah.
and, and the mind will be scrambling to process it all and keep up with it all. And another point on Uranus in Gemini, well, there's a few things, here I go, there's a few things to say about it. Mercury rules Gemini, and we in astrology we regard Mercury to be the lower octave of Uranus, or Uranus the higher octave or expression or vibration of Mercury. And so not only that, so Uranus has quite an affinity with Gemini, but when it was discovered in 1781, it was discovered in the sign of Gemini.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so things are going to get super interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Fascinating.
And so on the 2nd, Uranus begins to turn retrograde, and it will continue back a few degrees into Taurus for 5 months.
So,
But
so,
also
so just to make it clear, we're back in 2024 now.
24, we're back in
Yes.
2024,
For
right?
people who are watching.
We're just laying the ground for the new moon.
Yeah.
And on the same date, on September the 2nd, 2024, our friend Pluto,
Mm,
who's been retrograde now for a couple of months, is going to move back into Capricorn for his final
mm,
piece of that long, very powerful, intense journey through the sign of Capricorn. So these slow-moving outer planets, they take 2, sometimes even 3 years to make the transition across the cusp of a sign as they enter short distance, they retrograde back, they go across. And I was thinking about that this morning, and it's because we need time to integrate and process the changes, the
yeah.
change of energy.
Yeah.
And if it all just happened in one go,
Mm,
it's a lot for us to process, and to
mm,
integrate. So um, I think it's actually really helpful. So
yeah.
we've had a couple of periods now of Pluto in the early degrees of Aquarius, and then it's going to slip back into Capricorn just to finish that last stage before it fully moves into Aquarius in
Mm,
November. I think it's the 20th of November, I think. And it feels like we've been prepared.
yes.
We've had a period to prepare for that.
Mm. And if I could add something to that as well, I think on the 2nd of September, the day before the new moon, when Pluto does that, Neptune is sextiles Neptune.
Yes,
Well, which you know, Neptune's, it can affect our faith, belief systems, um, um, mass consciousness and generational shifts, I think, because of the regarding faith and belief systems too. What
yeah,
do you think?
absolutely. And they will both be at 29 degrees. Neptune's sitting at 29 degrees still. It's about to move back into 28, but as Pluto goes back to 29 to Capricorn, Neptune's still on that 29. So they a nice tight sextile. Now, look, I'll tell you something about that sextile between Neptune and Pluto.
Mm,
It's an interesting thing. For the whole of the last century and up till now, and for a few more years, but then it will start to separate. These two outer planets have been traveling in a sextile. Sometimes the sextile's been quite loose, as in they haven't been exact, but still within range.
mm,
Sometimes they're very tight, like they are now. So that's very interesting. And then I forget just when, but over the next few years, they'll start to sort of, that sextile, which is a 60-degree separation, folks, that they're 60 degrees apart, it will start to separate.
mm,
Because Neptune moves in a very steady kind of pace,
yeah.
14 years in a sign, but Pluto is different. It's the number of years it spends in a sign varies quite a lot because it has a different kind of an orbit. So anyway, for those who are interested in such things, that's just a little tidbit,
Yeah. Well, I think it's really an interesting aspect because, Neptune, it's about dissolving things,
Yeah.
the dissolution of that, and in to do with the liminal realms,
Yes.
what's in those liminal realms, meaning the unseen realms.
Yes.
And Pluto is the transformation. So when you put that together, you get that change in belief systems and attitudes towards things too.
Yes. And I think in the light of that, it's a great opportunity for many people to really grow and develop spiritually.
Mm,
We're going through a process of transformation and release release of old programmed belief systems, like you've been saying,
Yeah.
and finding our own way, and what is true, what is really true for me. And that's always a process of change. It shifts, doesn't it? Like you think about where we all were 4 years ago in our own way of perceiving life and understanding life, and look how much has shifted in that
Yeah.
time.
Do you think that aspect in times gone past too, and maybe you know this, is sort of like the harbinger of like a new age, that new cycle,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. They're yes, they're sort of, it's like a sextile is not what we call a hard aspect. It's more of a soft, easy aspect. So it feels like they're working in tandem with each other to support this process. And Neptune is the more kind of mysterious, spiritual side of it, and Pluto is the distraction of what needs to be purged and released, and it's to do with power as well. So very,
With
I could just see we could go on and on about this, just keep exploring it as a conversation.
well, I know, with Pluto going back into Capricorn, it's about that whole thing, what we believe about the systems that are in play, and
Exactly.
as well, business organizations, politics, government, that, like, how are we changing the way that we experience that and see it,
That's right.
or value it too, I suppose. Yeah.
So I would say that now that Pluto is making his final kind of slip back into Capricorn, and it only goes half a degree, it won't be there long, and so I feel that these next 2 months or so, before he comes back and moves fully into Aquarius, I think a lot is going to happen in terms of those systems, a great deal, because it feels like the final push. And it almost feels like those systems and structures, which their main goal is to hold power. It's not to benefit the people, it's to maintain power. And so that system, however we look at it, is going to give it everything it's got.
Definitely.
So it could get quite strong. Be very interesting to just observe. Yeah. And then watch what happens as it transitions into Aquarius finally in late November. So and then all of this on the second leads into the new moon on the 3rd of September.
That's going to give us a cosmic nudge to clean up our act.
Certainly is.
Get rid of bad habits.
It certainly is. So the sun and the moon will make a conjunction at 11 degrees and 4 minutes of Virgo on Tuesday, the 3rd of September, 11:55 a.m. Brisbane time, so noon. So around midday on Tuesday, the 3rd, at 11 degrees. So, Virgo is a yin, feminine, earth sign. And as all signs, there are many different expressions of it. There's absolutely the urge to clean, tidy, organize, heal, purify, make right, sort, work. It's also the sign of health and medicine and illness and healing and so on. So we're kind of lucky in a way here in the Southern Hemisphere, because this is our spring. And we just feel like, we want to spring clean the house, we want to spring clean our body, we want to, lighten our diet and not eat so many heavy foods, coming out of winter. And spring seems to have sprung very quickly here. Yeah, and you can feel it, just wanting to clean things up, as you said. Virgo also, on a more spiritual level, is very deeply aligned with the sacredness of life, of the earth, of nature. And you'll find so many people who are the sun in Virgo or have a strong Virgo influences in their chart. They have a very strong attunement with the natural world. They'll be noticing the bird in the garden. Very often they're very much into herbs and natural health and natural food, and wanting to heal with natural products and so on. Many of them work in the natural health sectors. You'll always find Virgos there, Virgo rising, Virgo moon, Virgo suns. I know heaps of them. They're
Yeah.
nurses, right? Yeah, they're healers. And so we can use this time. Now the sun's been in Virgo for about 10 days anyway, but the new moon is a real pivotal moment to really consider. And those couple of days after the new moon, as the new cycle gets moving, okay, what do I need to do to cleanse, to heal, to purify, to improve? Like Virgos are so good at fixing things.
They are, that's true, actually. Yeah.
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 And it's an interesting sign because it's ruled by the planet Mercury, which also rules Gemini. And which is interesting because Virgo's an earth sign and Gemini's Mercury's of the mind. But in Virgo, Mercury works in a very practical way. So Mercury and its connection to Virgo analyzes a problem, whether it's a health situation in the body or something that's broken or an office that's become chaotic, and analyzes what the problem is and then sets about doing it and fixing it.
Yeah.
So it takes actual action, but it's done the analysis first. It's a very, very good analytical sign. I've noticed a lot of authors have Virgo. I was thinking about this morning too, and many writers considered their art as much a craft as anything, and Virgo is a sign of craft.
Oh, yeah.
It's the craft of language and
Yeah.
getting the details right. So they might be the kind of author who does a lot of research to get the details right, and the craft of the language and the craft of storytelling, crafting the story.
Mm, mm, mm.
The woman, her name escapes me for the moment, who wrote Harry Potter,
Oh, yes.
bunch of planets in Virgo,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
very detailed, complex stories.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of details. I love the details.
But if my memory serves me correctly, she's actually a Leo sun. So
Oh,
the stories have a lot of drama and there's all her creative power. But then there's right next to that, after that, there's a bunch of planets in Virgo. So I've seen that a lot in writers, in authors.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's an analytical sign. So ruled by Mercury. So it's a good time for us to analyze things and put our mind to practical use,
Yes.
to solving problems. And as I talk about this, I can see that's currently going on in my life in different ways. I mean, I have a Virgo South Node. I'm prone to want to find solutions to problems, and fix them.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of prone to this, which sometimes is a bit of a drag, but it's just
Well,
what I do. It's how I am.
well, you probably see things that aren't perfect too.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And all the details and so on. That's right.
Yeah, because
That's right.
they're perfectionists. They love things just right. They've
That's right.
got this great eye for detail and
Yeah.
yeah, very precise.
Yeah. So that's the new moon. One thing I wanted to say about that as well is that the asteroid goddess, I want to talk about asteroids today because there's a lot going on with the asteroids. With the main, there's thousands of them, but with the main 4 or 5, I tend to work a lot with what I call the 6 main ones, or my 6 main ones anyway. But one of my favorites is Vesta. She's in Virgo now. She's at 4 degrees. And I feel Vesta has a very strong connection to the sign of Virgo because she's connected to the idea of the Vestal virgins, because the word virgin, which is how we see Virgo, it's the virgin, means pure and sacred and holy. It's actually not about, not having sex, actually, in its origins. And Vesta is about the keeper of the priestesses keeping the sacred flame alight in the temple. So Virgo has this strong connection with the archetype of the priestess and
Mm.
her love of ritual, keeping the flame alight, not letting the flame go out. And we can take that internally as our own inner flame, the light within. And it might be that, like a lot of Virgos quite like ritual. It's an important part of their life. It can be as simple as lighting a candle and taking a few moments to, which many people do, say, on a new moon. And I think that Vesta's not too far away from this new moon in Virgo.
Going to write down Vesta to have a look up a bit more.
Yeah, Vesta, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Um, and it was said in the mythology she was one of the virgin goddesses in the sense that, and this is where virgin relates to sexuality, in that what it really means is she belongs to no one. She is at one with herself and in herself.
Yeah.
And has no need of those outer connections. So her focus is on the sacred and the holy, within herself, kind of
Mm.
self-contained.
Mm.
So I just wanted to share that might be interesting and helpful for some people who
Yeah,
resonate with that,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um, and yeah, the new moon at 11 degrees forms an opposition to Saturn in Pisces, which is at 16 degrees
Yeah.
of Pisces. So that, I think, strongly connects, like all signs that are opposite each other in that polarity, they are strongly connected in various ways.
Mm.
And one of the ways I see Virgo Pisces is that they're both signs of sensitivity and refinement.
Mm. Mm.
There's a subtlety that both of them hold.
Mm.
And in Pisces, it's a water sign. It's more to do with our feelings, our imagination, our inner knowing, that's not connected to the analytical mind.
Mm.
It's all felt and intuited.
Mm.
And just, I don't know why, I just feel like this. But Virgo wants the analytical specific data, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. So if those two energies can work together, the analytical process,
Yeah.
then the intuition. It's like, it might be like, think of a healer who wants to understand what the issue is and analyze it and get all the information, and then intuitively moves into how to work with that,
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. I kind of like Saturn in Pisces. Now that I'm thinking about it. It's been
But
there.
why is that? What is that for you?
Well, it's a tough love planet. It's the one that how can I say it? When you've got a parent that um it's the parent that says no when the other parent is bending the rules. You know what I mean? To put it
Yeah,
down into ordinary terms, right?
yeah.
Um, so it's our inner parent, I think, or adult that takes charge because someone has to.
Right. That's right.
You know?
That's right. And while Saturn's going through Pisces over these 3 years, and now it's right in the middle of it,
Yeah.
we're having to really face up to our illusions and delusions,
Yeah.
and the things we thought were real but turned out not to be, and
Absolutely.
what is actually real, and including our spiritual perspective and point of view, like, oh, well, I used to see it like this, and now I'm experiencing it this way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of getting cleaned up as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to synthesize Saturn in Pisces opposite the new moon in Virgo. I'm trying to see, my mind's going, how can I put that together in a way that might make
It
sense?
might make sense. Yeah, yeah. There's a few ways that can be that can work. Like, Virgo's have got a lot to do with work. Like, it's very
Mm.
literal. It's your job, the day-to-day reality of your job and your schedule. For some people, this new moon might be, I can't keep doing this job anymore. And this opposition from Saturn is saying something has to give. You're wearing yourself out. You're making yourself sick. you've taken on way too much. Because Virgo can absolutely work itself to death. You know, it can be, it can show up as the workaholic,
Yes.
right? And Saturn's here going, well, this is what happens if you do that.
Yeah.
You know, this is the result. That's very Saturn, isn't it?
Mm.
And you need to listen to your soul, Pisces,
Mm.
and make some choices here
Mm.
because you
Yes.
just can't do it all, or you need to go and talk to your boss and say, I'm doing way too much overtime, or
Yeah.
well, and if he doesn't give, then you've got to make a choice about, well, am I going to keep working here? In fact, I'm thinking of someone I know right now who's in that situation. I've
Yeah.
just kind of thought of that.
Mm.
Yeah, like it's just too much going on in this person's life. Something has to give. And I
Mm.
think of at the Virgo new moon, that could really bring that to a pivotal moment of, no, I can't go on like this.
Mm.
Because Virgo Pisces, one of the common ways that will then show up is you get sick, or you just keep getting sick.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
or you're injure your body and the body's saying, no.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I've been getting those messages too. Like I've had a few injuries this year because Saturn's really doing a number on me this year. But I injured my foot earlier, which is typical Pisces. Hurt my lower back, which has never happened before. And just recently, I was doing a lot of cleaning out with the Virgo retrograde. I was outside sweeping and throwing things, and I've sprained my wrist. It's still not quite right,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Saturn,
Yes. Restricting.
slow it down, be more careful.
Yeah.
I was pushing it a bit because I
Yeah.
was enjoying myself.
Yeah.
And I was annoyed that I couldn't keep doing it. But so that's the kind of thing.
Mm. So
Um,
it gives us limits, doesn't it? It sort of
yeah,
pushes the buttons about our limits.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'm a tend to be a person who like to start and finish things, and sometimes it takes me beyond my usual physical limits.
Yes,
And that Saturn steps in and says, you're going to be sorry if you go over that,
that's
and then
right.
I do, and then yeah, and I laid up for a few days.
Yeah, because that other part of you just wants to get it done.
I know, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very annoying.
I'll be living with it. Saturn on my sun. I know exactly what it's like.
That's right. And I now have the transit of Saturn on my sun in Pisces. So yes, yes.
Mm.
Um, Now, while we're here,
Mm.
um, at the Virgo new moon, Virgo being what I refer to as a feminine sign, there is quite a gathering going on in the sign of Libra. And while Libra is an air sign, meaning it's masculine or yang, it's ruled by the planet Venus,
Mm.
which, I can see my mind going off to a whole other story, but I'll put that to one side. That's for
There's so
another
much
day.
to talk about.
Um, but Venus is in Libra now.
Mm.
So at the new moon on the 3rd, Venus will be at 5 degrees of Libra, happily in her own sign, Venus being the main relationship planet, Libra being a relationship sign. Libra is all about balance, relationship, harmony, justice, peace.
Mm.
But relationship, Libra. The South Node is in Libra, has been now for a good year or more,
Mhm.
and is moving back. It's at 6 degrees, conjunct Venus at 5 degrees.
Mhm.
The Black Moon Lilith, a very strong marker of the feminine. Big complex story there, but to do with the repressed feminine and the reclaiming of the feminine principle in us all and in this world, and whatever that means, which is another big piece to unpack. And that's at 7 degrees, and at 8 degrees is one of the major four goddess asteroids, Juno.
Mm.
So there's this gathering at 5, 6, 7, and 8 degrees of Libra, the primary relationship sign and the sign of balance and justice and harmony.
Mm.
Juno is a relationship asteroid. She's the main one to do with relationships because in the mythology, She was originally way back a powerful goddess in her own right. Um, in the patriarchal times, her role was diminished in that she became the wife of Zeus. So she is now the wife of the king, the ruler, but her role is diminished because we're in a more patriarchal, masculine dominated era. And so he's the boss, she's his wife, but he does not honor her and respect her as a full equal, a full share. There's no equal sharing of power and recognition of the necessary balance of masculine and feminine. He goes off, he's having affairs all over the place, right? He doesn't share his throne fully with her and respect and honor her. She's often described in the mythology as being this angry, vengeful, bitchy wife. Well, she's kind of got good cause in a way, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not faithful to her at all, and he's not honoring of her. So this is fascinating. Venus, the goddess of love, rules Libra, is in Libra, conjunct the South Node, the karmic past, conjunct the Black Moon Lilith, which is also about the diminishment of the feminine, violent diminishment of the feminine, and Juno, the great goddess, who actually, in her role as wife, what she actually wants, she accepts her role as the wife of Zeus, but she wants it to be fully equal. So that's a very interesting combination. And I think for some people, particularly if they've got anything going on around those early degrees, within the first 10 degrees of Libra, and just generally in the field, there's likely to be a lot going on in relationships.
Well, I was just going to say, because all of that, well, Venus and Libra is opposite the North Node in Aries.
Exactly.
You've got these issues that are going to come up around independence versus partnership, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And these issues around what is equal, fair, and just, and what is not equal, fair, and just, and as one partner at some point say, that's it, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. And that's where the Aries energy kicks in. I'd rather go it alone or be independent.
Yeah.
Or just really work it out with the partners, like those difficult conversations that may need to happen
Yes.
to resolve some of these issues. So, but you remember, Libra is also to do with justice and the law courts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that could be coming up as well, and issues around injustice.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And
So
if I could just add something to that, though,
please,
just bringing it down to a personal level on a day-to-day basis for, you know, the man in the street or the woman in the street, you might be having some push and pull between who does the most jobs around the house. You know,
absolutely.
whose turn is it to bring the washing in off the line or go get the groceries or pick the kids up after school or, you know, those sort of issues, those practical issues.
Will they have a big impact on a relationship
They
if
do,
people are
yeah.
living together? And you know, and with the new moon in Virgo, right? That can really, because Virgo is prone to stress, often from just taking on way too much and trying to get everything done and get it all done right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, exactly. The pressures that can crack a relationship are often just all that day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just really felt that was, and then on the 5th of September, two things happened. The moon, having moved on through Virgo, moves into Libra, um, and moves into Libra, and the moon, which is also a feminine, we regard as a feminine body, will join Venus, the South Node, the Black Moon Lilith, and Vesta. So you've got all the feminine bodies that we speak of in astrology, the moon, Venus, and the Black Moon Lilith, and one of the major asteroids, feminine, all together.
Yes.
That's extraordinary.
Yes. I'm seeing
And
it.
if you're not working with asteroids, you're going to miss that. You would see the Venus and the moon on the south node, but you'd miss those two other points, which add a whole other kind of layer of meaning.
Mm, mm.
Um, yeah. Um,
So we're up to the 5th, are we? 5th or
we're
6th?
up to the 5th.
Okay.
And just before I move on,
Mm,
all of that happening around, 5, 6, 7 of Libra is square to the major goddess asteroid Ceres, which is 7 degrees of Capricorn.
mm, mm,
Ceres, the great mother goddess.
mm.
Um, so just a strong thing coming up around the feminine in our personal life and in the world, and justice and injustice.
Mm,
And also Libra has a lot to do. I sort of almost went there earlier. In my experience, Libra has a lot to do with gender itself.
mm.
There's a thorny issue as well.
So, gosh,
But it really does.
yeah.
Gender identity, those issues very much, in my experience over the years, associated with the sign of Libra.
Yes, and there's that fairness and justice that comes into play there, isn't it? About, is it fair for a male-born person who identifies as a female to compete in female events? That's a
Exactly. With the
great
body, with
example.
the physicality of a male. Exactly. In its musculature and physical strength and
Yeah.
power. Exactly.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah. So that's certainly one expression of it. So yeah, watch this space. That could get quite interesting. And see what comes up in our own life, in our own relationship dynamics.
Yeah.
And it's not just like on that day. I'm speaking of, exact dates, but around this whole period, around the whole of the week, these energies will be in alignment. The other thing on the 5th that reinforces this story even more is that Mars, the masculine warrior energy, moves into the sign of Cancer, which is a profoundly feminine sign.
Mm.
Cancer is ruled by the moon.
Yeah.
It's to do with the mother and the home and the principles of
Yeah.
nurturing and caretaking and so on.
Mm. With that Mars there, though, it'll sort of make us to express ourselves, our assertiveness with it'll be softer with sensitivity and kindness, that sort of thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. It will soften that more aggressive energy of Mars. It can also express as someone just suddenly feeling very activated and wanting to get very active in the home space, or
Mm.
like, oh right, now's the time. I've been thinking about doing this for ages. I'm going to get on with it now. And it
Mm.
could be that, or you might find yourself cooking up a storm. Like these things can express in so many ways. Sometimes there's very simple ways like that, like
Yeah.
this sudden urge to get into the kitchen. And
I think with that Mars too, because it's a warrior, soldier, that sort of thing, it's also a protector. So you might feel a bit more protective about your family or your inner circle or something like that.
that's right,
Mm.
because Cancer's instinct is to protect. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's a change to Mars exiting out of Gemini, where it's been very dynamic mentally, and moving into the softer water sign energy. But Mars in a water sign can also really stir up emotions.
Yes.
Like some people, if particularly if there's children around, might notice it in their home space, like there's emotional storms erupting all over the place because it's just stirring. And Mars brings heat and energy to a sign.
Mhm. So,
Yeah,
Gemini can be a bit scattered, actually, it can be very scattered,
yeah.
which doesn't give you a stable base. So
No,
there's this sort of, there can be anxiety there too.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But feeling pulled in all
Yeah,
directions.
very much. You're worrying about things more, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
And just trying to do too many things.
mm,
Cancer is a cardinal sign, and as one of the four cardinal signs, these signs are more focused. They're more inclined to have a goal, a purpose, and set off in that direction.
mm.
Yeah, they're not so easily distracted as the mutable signs are. So, that could be for some people like, okay, I'm on a mission now, and it can be to do with Cancerian issues and themes, or if you know your birth chart, if you know what house Cancer is in, that area of your life, that Cancer sits in your birth chart. So, yeah, so it's a cardinal signs. They have much more of a sense of focus, goals. All right, so I think we should move on.
Yeah. We're packing a lot into this one because we
Yeah,
can.
I know. On the 7th, I will talk about this one. This is kind of a minor one, but it's relevant because we've just come out of a Mercury retrograde. Mercury has made a number of square aspects to Uranus, and on the 7th, it makes the final one. It's 3 out of 3. So it made one, then Mercury turned retrograde, and it made another square to Uranus, and then it's turned direct, and now it's making the final contact. And as I said earlier, Mercury and Uranus are of a similar energy in that they're both of the mental plane, the lower and higher octave of each other. So that can just be a very stimulating day or two of the mind. Or as we've had lots of shocks and surprises of late in all sorts of ways, it's, as you said earlier, suddenly you hear something on the news or someone tells you something, you go, what? What just happened? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. I think these days I almost never say I can't believe it. I'm kind of ready for almost anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I say I'm not surprised.
That's right. Like, okay, what next?
Oh gosh. Yes.
On the 9th,
So that
Mercury
was
will,
Mercury. Sorry, that was
sorry,
Mercury squares Uranus.
what's that? Yeah,
That was Mercury squares Uranus.
Mercury square Uranus on the 7th.
Okay, right. And that can bring a lot of nervous tension, can't it?
Absolutely.
Uranus is all, it's your nervous system.
Jittery.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It can.
But I could also, I'm just thinking with Mercury squaring Uranus, that can sort of bring some aha moments or some brilliant insights too. What do you think?
Definitely.
Mm.
Definitely. And that can happen spontaneously from the inside, or it could be you come across a piece of information that just shifts your perspective on something.
Yes. Yeah. True.
Just like that in a moment. You go, oh, that's
Mm.
right.
Mm.
Um, or a little piece of information that comes as a little shock.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're getting used to shocks. Well, hopefully we are because there's been
It's been a lot.
so many. In fact, I'm giving a talk at the conference on the Gold Coast in January on Uranus as the agent of shock and the whole issue around shock and shock waves and
Yeah.
how that's a part of the awakening process,
Yeah. Mm.
So yeah, so when you get a contact like this of a fast moving planet to Uranus, that's the kind of thing that can also trigger earthquakes.
Yes. Yeah. We've seen
When
it.
earthquakes, major earthquakes occur, astrologers just go dive straight in and try and find the exact time it happened and pull up a chart. And
Yeah.
you're always going to find something like that happening on the day.
Well, apparently there's a lot happening in a particular area in Italy.
I believe so. That's
Mm.
right.
Mm.
Absolutely. And volcanoes and
Yeah.
in
And
different parts of the world where
the government is trying to cover it up. They
that's
don't want
right.
to leave Italy in panic and not tourism not to come. Oh gosh.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then on the 9th, Mercury will leave Leo, beg your pardon. Will leave. I just went blank there for a moment. I couldn't see the zodiac. Mercury will leave Leo and go into Virgo, which he'll
Yeah.
be very happy to do that. He rules Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
And Mercury will just put himself to work.
Yeah.
And, and that's always such an interesting shift from Leo, which is all about, display and the drama and the glory and the magnificence of things, which is great, goes into Virgo and says, okay, enough of that.
Mm.
we're going to now just focus on the task at hand, get on with the job, right?
Yeah.
So Mercury will very happily do that in the sign of Virgo. So it's a great time for us to use that analytical power that Mercury has in Virgo. He'll be there for about 3 weeks.
Actually, it's analytical brilliance, I think.
Yes,
Mercury in Virgo, precision and efficiency of mind,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so good. Pursuit of excellence is another thing that I'm thinking of too.
That's a great way to put it.
Mm,
It's very much that. It's being accurate, being correct,
yeah,
not making things up. It's no, let's get this right. Let's get it accurate
I think
and work and deal with the details.
I think in Virgo, it's sort of and with Mercury there, it sort of elevates our thinking.
Yes.
Can cultivate what am I thinking of? Refined intelligence.
Yes, it is.
It's a higher mindedness.
Yes, it is. It's very refined intelligence,
Mm,
very clear. I remember I got that some years ago. I spent some time with a Virgo friend, and I just energetically got this sense of the essence of the energy is clear and refined in a very exquisite, beautiful way. It
mm,
doesn't mean that's what's always being expressed from a Virgo person, but energetically, that's the essence of it. It's
yeah.
beautiful. It's absolutely
Mm,
beautiful.
mm,
Yeah. Um, okay. I mean, it could also be a few weeks where we're getting a bit stressed because Virgo is prone to stress.
that's true.
The endless to-do list that just
Yeah.
never
Mm,
stops. Um, okay. And then we're going to leap forward a little bit to the 17th when Venus still in Libra will make an opposition to Chiron
mm,
in Aries, 22 degrees, Libra 22 degrees of Aries. So that could also be a couple of days that can highlight relationship issues.
yeah.
Chiron, the wounded healer.
Yes. Yeah. Wounds in relationships.
Yes,
Feeling, themes of vulnerability, I think.
yes,
Yeah. But with
yes.
Venus in there, Venus in Libra, love Venus in Libra.
I know Venus. So this is actually nice. We've got Venus in her happily in her own sign of Libra,
Yeah.
and Mercury will be happily in his own sign of Virgo. So when a planet's in its own natural sign, it's like the energy is just relaxed. It can fully be itself, and it has more power
Yeah.
in its own sign to be just its true nature.
Mm,
I mean, of course, it'll be affected by aspects to other planets as it goes through the sign, but it's in its own domain. It's like us, when we're in our own domain,
yeah.
it's a natural habitat, you could say.
Yeah.
It feels good to be in our natural habitat.
Oh, I love Venus in Libra.
Yes, it's beautiful and themes of beauty.
Yeah.
And Virgo and Libra, you put those two together
Yeah.
in a person, if someone has both of those signs quite prominent in their chart, they have a great capacity for beauty and design
Mm.
that's quite exquisite. It's a great combination for that.
I think people with Venus in Libra are very attractive. Yeah, and it's not just physical, it's something about them is it's a quality, a grace, a way of I just think of a female, a beautiful woman walking through with flowing
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. There is a grace and sort of a harmony about them. That's very true.
Mm.
And often it shows as physical beauty and attractiveness as well in a man or a woman. You might say, oh, there's a good looking man or a beautiful
Yeah.
woman. I mean, not always, but very often that's how Libra presents. A lot of women, for example, with uh, Libra rising or Venus right on their ascendant,
Mm.
there's a natural attractiveness
Yeah.
and again, it's not always physical, but it's just a quality that they have.
Yeah.
You kind of just drawn to them. Yeah. Um, Oh, and that brings us to, so one thing we haven't spoken about, but we'll bring it in now. So that brings us to the full moon coming up on September the 18th, where the moon will be at 25 degrees of Pisces opposite the sun at 25 of Virgo, and it's a lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
So this new moon in Virgo coming up on the 3rd is actually bringing us into eclipse season. So this lunar eclipse is a part of this Virgo lunar cycle.
Yeah.
So we are now heading into eclipse season.
So with eclipses, things that are hidden and obscured are now uncovered.
Yes. And they're often catalysts, catalysts for significant events to happen and occur in our lives and on the world stage, definitely.
Interesting.
And then 2 weeks later, of course, on October the 3rd, there'll be the next new moon at 10 degrees of Libra, and that will be a solar eclipse. So eclipses are always strong times, strong periods.
Yeah.
And, just to relate that to important world events, I think one of the most important events that the whole world is facing now is the election in the US. And, whatever our views and opinions are of that, there's just no denying that this is a highly, highly significant, important event. And between now and then, a lot more is going to happen. A lot already has happened in the recent month, as we knew a lot would happen this month. A lot has happened, but stay tuned because there'll be a lot more.
Yes, the world stage is it's a what's the word I want to say? It's like a minefield,
Yeah.
and
Like,
think,
as you said, I was thinking it was like a Shakespearean play.
well, I see it as people stepping on the mines and they're going off, one here, one over there, one over there.
They are. They are.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's not only the States, of course, there's things going off all over the world, but that, in my personal view, is the pivotal story
Yeah.
that will affect everything.
Everything. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Watch your space.
Yes, absolutely. So I hope that's helpful and interesting for everyone and
There's a
helps
lot
us.
there.
Hey,
There was a lot
there's,
there.
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely. So, if lovely viewers, if you enjoyed that, or listeners, if you're driving along listening, if you enjoyed that episode, please remember to like it, subscribe to get notification of when the next episode is published, and if you feel like you want to share it with friends, and wow, just go away and cogitate on that because I'm going to write down all those dates in my diary, which I always do.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, I'm actually starting to be able to write astrological language now. I'm just going
Great,
and all the symbols are there. Oh yeah.
great.
Um,
That's great.
Very interesting. Well, what do we say? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. It's a wonderful ride that we're all on.
And did you want
Yeah.
to, I know you mentioned it before, did you want to plug the astrology conference? Some details of that?
Yes, if anyone's interested, you can. I put up posts on Facebook every now and then. It's a conference that we've always had in Australia every 2 years, but there's been a bit of a break, and now we're back. Oh no, there was one in Adelaide 2 years ago. I beg your pardon, but this is a big conference. 6 international fabulous astrologers from overseas will be coming, and a number of Australian astrologers, myself included, will all be speaking over 3 days. Lots of lectures, lots of great people attending. It's a great social event. 3 days of just astro babble nonstop. And people who have, I've experienced this for years as a teacher, people who are beginners say, oh, would I get anything out of it? And I've encouraged them to go, and they were always happy they went. They got so much, even though they're still just at the beginner's stage,
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's something about being immersed in a subject for days at a time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's so much fun, it's like the astrological family. We're a Uranian bunch, so everyone's a little bit crazy, and I say that with great affection. I don't mean it in any serious way. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And you'll make new friends and meet people. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Conference.
it's on the Gold Coast.
Yeah,
If you're living in Southeast Queensland, Northern New South Wales, very accessible.
yeah. It's at Novotel Surfers Paradise.
Novotel is
Yeah.
fantastic location.
So you can Google that astrological conference. I
It's
think that
overlooking the beach. I mean,
what's the website? Is it on the QFO?
it's the FA. Can I send it to you? Can you put it in the?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
That might be easier because I can't remember it. But
yeah,
if you look up the FAA, it's the Federation of Australian Astrologers.
yeah,
I always would, if I search for FAA, I can go directly to it now, but I always put FAA astrology because there's lots of organizations that are FAAs, all
yeah,
kinds of things.
yeah,
Astrology conference.
yeah. And there
Or
is,
even just search astrology conference Gold Coast
yeah.
2025. You'll find it's in January.
And the organisers have sorted a discount on the accommodation too for people
That's right.
who are going. They're a little bit expensive, but yeah.
I know. So you book your own accommodation. If you know someone on the Gold Coast, you might be able to stay with them.
Mm,
But yes, so you book your own accommodation. You'll get, when you book the conference, you can get a code
mm,
for the discount prices of the accommodation at the hotel because you book that separately.
yeah. Well, there you go. So everyone, it's been lovely. I'm so glad you joined us all. Thank you, Babula. And
Pleasure.
until we meet next time, follow the star trails into the age of Aquarius.
Yay.
So bye everyone, stay safe and be well.
Bye, everyone.